We've got brand new Pokemon Scarlet and Violet leaks to take a look at as the leakers continue to drop new information. Let's dive in. All right, so let's jump into things here. I'm gonna be using Centro Leaks as our reference, but this is basically them kind of taking information from KAKA and KU and other sources that I've seen otherwise, but they've got a nice little list here. So it starts off by saying that Scarlet and Violet will have between 21 and 40 new abilities. Now, that is a lot of new abilities. Don't get me wrong here, but it's important to remember that some abilities will be the same exact ability, but just be named something different. We've seen that happen a few times, and there'll be an example of that later in this video as well. Scarlet and Violet are gonna have between 46 and 65 new moves. That's a pretty robust new move pool. At this point, we have a lot of moves in the game of Pokemon. We saw them remove some moves in the past. We saw Legends Arceus obviously slim down that move pool, and it wasn't terrible in my opinion. I'm curious to see what the distribution is. Obviously, one or two moves can make or break a Pokemon from a competitive standpoint, so always excited to see new moves. We've seen a couple of them, like kind of the new one that Cyclizar gets, which is like a substitute baton pass kind of deal. So there's some cool stuff that we're excited to see. Gita, our new champion, or one of the champions in the region, has three particular Pokemon on our team that we've seen leaked. One is the Hakefish, which is actually seen an image of. Two is an Ostrich, which we believe to be a Cleopatra-based psychic ostrich. And three being this poison flower type Pokemon, which was one of the first leaked images that actually came out. And a lot of people were just like, yo, this thing's gotta be fake, but it seems as though that it actually is real. So those are some of the Pokemon that Gita's gonna have on our team. A couple psychic Pokemon and a poison Pokemon, which does fit with her motif that we've seen so far in terms of her clothing and her outfits and things like that. Centro then goes on to clarify that the ranges are a little smaller, 25 to 40 abilities, 50 to 65 new moves, but again, those numbers are very close. We're in the same ballpark here. And speaking of those abilities, Serena's Queenly Majesty ability is getting a clone, so a new Pokemon is going to get an ability with the same effect, which we already have seen, right? Like Queenly Majesty and Dazzling, I believe, are the same effect, if I'm not mistaken. Dazzling is the ability that Bruxish gets, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. Girafarig's evolution, which is one of the Pokemon I'm actually most excited for. Its name, as per Riddler, KU, is still a palindrome. So a palindrome is a word that said the same forwards, or spelled the same forwards and backwards, like race car or Girafarig. Fun fact, the first band I was ever in high school was called Palindrome, and our first EP was called Hannah with an H at the end. That's just a fun fact. Our music was pretty bad, but I did do some cool stuff in my band days. Hey, Drive, were you in a band? I was. A lot of people are speculating that the name of Girafarig is going to be Farig Giraffe, which that's kind of what we thought for a little while. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, this is probably one of the Pokemon I'm most excited for going into the new games. Farig Giraffe, we're going to call it, has an ability apparently called Ruminant, but I guess that's a little unsure. Ruminant is a new ability. A lot of people are speculating that it's going to have to do with berries. There's going to be something to do with berries. Girafarig being able to utilize berries. We'll have to wait and see what that all turns into. And on a further discussion point, there's starter evolutions. We have a reminder here that they don't have new abilities for their hidden abilities. So that's not the end of the world, right? Some people are speculating maybe Quaxley gets Dancer, which could be kind of cool. Some people are speculating Fuecoco is going to get like Gluttony or something to do with berries. This has been teased. There's thoughts that maybe Prankster or something could be for Sprigatito turning into a dark type. So there's a lot of thoughts on what those abilities might end up being in the new games. By the way, if you guys didn't hear, I'm doing a Nintendo Switch giveaway as well as 5 starter type deck prototypes for my new game, Alestrals. And don't forget about Mustachian, which we just revealed. I'll throw in a hollow one of those. You guys can enter the Gleam link in the description below, and I'll have it in the pinned comment as well. For you guys to enter for free, all you guys need to do is check out my game, Alestrals, which is a new card game launching on Kickstarter in November. Guaranteed to be amazing. We launched our prototype starter decks, and almost 5,000 starter decks were purchased. So Kickstarter's about to be crazy. Get in the hype for Alestrals now before you heard about it. Then you're gonna be like, I should have got involved when I first heard about it, and enter our giveaway for free and have a chance to win a Switch. Thanks for checking out my project. We know that there's gonna be 2 gyms at the peak of the mountain because we kind of have seen what the gyms look like. We've also seen kind of the ice gym from the snowboarder. Apparently the ghost and the ice gym are both at the top of the mountain, and we can kind of break that down from Centro. Then apparently there's some recommendations on which order you should do the gyms, and it's sad to say that it does seem as though, as open as this world is, there is still a recommended order because you're not going to be able to be the right levels to deal with those harder gyms. I personally would have loved to see a dynamic game that's scaled based on where you're at If you had 1 badge, then no matter which gym you went to was gonna be level 20 to 30. If you had 5 badges, they were gonna be level 40 to 45, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, the gyms were gonna switch, but that does not seem to be the case. So it seems as though bug and grass or electric and water, they're set up on a map in the way that, like, if you do those gyms first, that's gonna make the most sense. You can do it in any order, but based on the map location, the levels, that's gonna be your best bet. And we've got this nice image here, which does break down where the different gyms are, right? So we've got the bug gym in this location, we've got the grass gym over here, the electric gym, the water gym, and then of course you've got the normal gym tucked away there, you've got a fairy type gym, and then you've got the ghost and the ice type gym on the top of the peak. So that seems to be where the gym locations are, and again, it makes sense to do them in that particular order. You do bug and then grass, you do electric, you do water as the second, third gym, fourth gym, just based on the proximity. So you obviously start in the bottom southern part of the map, and you kind of work your way up around kind of the central part. Which is important to recognize here, that there's a possibility that, like, in game design, if you decide to do like the bug gym, the water gym, the normal gym, and then work your way up to like the ghost and ice gym, if you go back to the grass and electric gym, they're gonna be like 50 levels under you, or maybe like 30 levels under you. So we'll have to see how that's gonna go. I don't know, man. That feels a little wonky to me. I'm not exactly a big fan of that. I've expressed my displeasure on that topic a few times. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, but I just feel like they had an opportunity to really tie in what the manga did and like what the story of Pokemon is, where the gym leaders have different teams based on what kind of challenger they're facing, and they didn't do that, man. And it's sad. I'm a little disappointed. That doesn't mean it's gonna be bad. It's just, that was something that I was looking forward to. I love the level scaling aspect of like Skyrim, and how there's still areas that are too hard for you to get into if you don't have the right gear or the right, you know, whatever. I feel like there was a really cool possibility for them to do that. Like, you're not gonna be able to probably beat the ice type gym because the Pokemon around there, the trainers around there are gonna be too strong, but like it'll be at least somewhat scaled. I don't know, just something that I kind of feel passionate about, but it is what it is at the end of the day. And then from there, we've got some interesting talks about Magnemite. So we believe that Magneton is going to be getting a Paradox form. So it's going to have this kind of new form that we're not really sure the typing of, but the Riddler has posted, says, imagine its new function growing on its body. So this is kind of hinting that instead of maybe magnets all over Magneton, it's going to have like screws or something. So something to look for as we kind of get information. There's some funny pictures. Like Blaze and Cinnamon underneath posting the Magneton with the screws all over it. So just keep that in mind as we wait and see what these Paradox forms ultimately look like. That may be a direction as to kind of what it's gonna be. And that's pretty much that going on for today in the world of Pokemon leaks and news and rumors and everything else. I might be a little dry for a few days as we wait for the next Pokemon reveal, but I'll keep you guys posted if anything does drop. Don't forget to enter our giveaway. You guys can check out the Gleam link in the description below and enter there for free. And just check out my project Delestrals launching on Kickstarter in November. I'm putting everything into this project, man. It's been so fun, so definitely check it out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.